Well, it is a joy, as always, to be joined by legendary strength coach Dan John here on the weekly podcast, where we will answer whatever questions you send our way after we prattle on for a little bit, catch
Yeah,
up, and talk all things fitness and life. How are you, Dan?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm prepared to prattle. I'm in a prattle zone right now.
Prattle's a good word. So is chortle.
Chortle, prattle. Yeah, there's some Donnybrook for a fight. Yeah, I like that. Brouhaha. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
there are some
Got a
great.
good mouth feel, doesn't it? A brouhaha.
Yeah, brouhaha. Oh my God, a brouhaha broke out at the. Yeah, things are good. Training's going well. Doing that. I'm still, kind of doing that kind of longer experiment with this new hypertrophy book I'm doing about. So I'm doing a lot of high rep presses and working my glutes.
How do you feel recovery wise when you shift into the higher rep stuff, Dan? Is it
That for me, I feel. I mean, I don't get. I don't get necessarily sore when I do higher reps. I don't know what it is. The thing that still gets me sorest is an Olympic lifting meet, doing those
yeah.
clean and jerks. But for soreness, what I do like is I do like that there is I'm sure it's a metabolic bath of some kind that makes you feel good when you do higher rep hypertrophy work. And I can understand why, like what's going to make you a great discus thrower is going to be, snatches, front squats, suitcase carries, hill sprints. Okay, there you go. None of those make you go, when you do a hill sprint, there's that weird, but when you do like a set of 12 in the press, it's like,
you're all pumped up and veiny and you're bulging. Right. Yeah.
You feel you get that little happy bath of hormones or whatever it is. And you feel it's kind of like I've never heard someone say, "Oh God, I've got to go hot tub." I just it's in the program. I've got a hot tub in this, if it the beautiful blue watered hot tub that's perfect temperature. Dang it. And I'm going to probably be drinking, some beverage, it's a beautiful, I'm so angry about hot tubbing. I feel that way about hypertrophy work. It's
right.
Like,
yeah.
Oh yeah. This is just the good stuff. Yeah. So,
yeah. So I'm similar. I usually don't get sore either unless I'm like really just shifting into a new like selection of exercises I haven't done in a while. But I'll tell you what, the difference for me is 3 to 4 days. If we're doing higher rep, higher volume stuff, 3, fine. Go to 4 days per week. Like Pat Flynn better have nothing else going on in his life for recovery.
I will say this is interesting. I had a little feedback from one of my gym members yesterday that when you do shift from the barbell squat family to the double kettlebell front squat, that there's a whole new level of soreness. And that would be something I'm still experimenting with. I don't understand why. The person was doing high rep back squats for a while, long time, and then we shifted to we're talking what, a third the load. No, that's might be too much. Half the load, easy, okay, and just waking up so much sorer from shifting from here to here.
Yeah,
and I do think But so you're right. Exercise changes will make me sore. Sometimes equipment changes. I didn't think about that. Yeah.
Indeed.
I tend to stick to one tool for a longer time than most. So
yeah, so do I. A little bit of a time crunch here, so let's head to some questions. Gentle listeners, keep popping in whatever questions you have. We'll get through as many as we can. Let's start with Mr. JBJ. He says, JBJ. Has said, I've replaced one easy strength workout with high rep presses, preparing for Dan's new book. 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13. Man, that's an ugly number.
It's a Fibonacci number, though. So
it's just so ugly. Once you get to 13, it just makes me uncomfortable. It just makes me
true. Yeah,
makes me uncomfortable. It's just an uncomfortable number. All the other numbers, I'm fine with it. 13, I get it. It's part of the sequence. I'll let it go. Anyway, his shoulders feel very sore the next few days. How are you supposed to complete ABC 2 days later. What sort of is this one of your programs, Dan, or is this some sort of hodgepodge
I
thing?
think Mr. BJ has hodgepodge.
This is a Frankenstein's monster here. We got an easy
I don't
strength with something from Dan's new book, and then armor building in here. What is this thing?
I mean,
kill it.
Well, the one thing I would only ask, it's so he's doing easy strength plus high volume pressing, and then the ABC. So he's cobbled several programs together, and I can't, JBJ, I'm not sure what to tell you. Sometimes, and I have no issues with this, by the way, and I think there's some real value. You take your workout, paleo fitness workouts, which, as you know, a big fan, and then you add triathlon training to it. I can talk on your 180-day program, Pat, but if you throw triathlon training, I didn't do that, so other things come up. I would suggest, JBJ, that your compilation here probably is flawed, and I'm not sure what to tell you, son. Personally,
yeah. As a general rule, especially if you're doing hypertrophy stuff, I generally recommend not doing another intense training session for a similar body part if you are still sore. And that's sort of traditional wisdom there.
Yeah.
Now, if you're sore for the next few days,
that was the thing, to the point that he couldn't do the armor building.
Yeah, that's a while. Usually, like 1, maybe 2 days.
Yeah, people are asking me a lot now. How do I mix easy strength with the ABC program? How do I mix ABC with humane burpee? And I'm always to the point like, well, why don't you just do easy strength for fat loss for 40 days, then get into another program? And then, it's like somebody asked me something like that. There's no way you can do mass made simple forever. I'm like, how stupid? No offense, but how literally stupid can you be? Obviously the person hadn't read the book, done the program, but I've been lifting weights since 1965. That's a lot of 6-week programs.
It's so funny because sometimes people will throw that out as a general objection to anything. Like, how are you supposed to do this for the rest of your life? Well, who the hell said you are supposed to do this for the rest? Not everything needs to be done for the rest of your life,
so
son.
Why not? So, this morning I don't have to study for my multiplication tables test. Well, why? Because I did that in the 3rd grade, and I've moved.
Yeah, great if you have a program you could do your entire life. I don't know what that program is, but life has seasons, guys. Different things at different times makes a lot of sense, right?
I got that little workout called the perfect workout, and I've had a number of people say I can probably do this the rest of my life, and I usually say something along the ideas. JBJ has a follow-up, so maybe that'll help us. Okay. But what the hell was I talking about? Oh, the perfect program, is a really nice little thing to do. And it's really nice under a time crunch for me, or if I've done something like, I'll tell you something, this perfect workout I have, it's real quick. It's half kneeling presses, hangs, goblet squat to overhead squat, hip thrust, suitcase carry.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. Okay, there you go. Happy.
Yeah.
By the way, today I'm going to write called, I almost want to call it, easy strength for dummies, but I got to be careful.
I want to talk about this a little bit more because I actually saw a video the other day where you were mentioned, Dan, favorably, of course. I would have exploded the comment section if it was anything else.
Thank you very
much.
But
it was by that guy, very popular. His name's Jujimufu. You know who I'm talking about? Just like this huge guy who does all these acrobatics and you know who I'm talking about? You know what I'm saying? All right. Well, he mentioned you, Dan. He likes your work. People in the comments will know he's very popular. He's got like millions of followers. He's on all sorts of steroids, and he's open about it. But he does the Van Damme splits with huge amounts of weight and this. Anyways, long story short, the dude's messed up. I think he's getting his knees are completely obliterated. He's just really messed up, right? So he's had to stop doing a lot of the stuff he has been doing because his body has effectively disintegrated. And like, no surprise, like anybody who saw the stuff that this guy was doing, even apart from the steroid use, there's just not longevity in it.
Kids, drugs are bad. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, and apart from the drugs, yeah. So there's Anthony Jojimufu. I never know how to pronounce. It's one of those weird names. He's got a real name, but that's his like username or whatever.
Okay.
So, anyways, he goes on. He says he's changing things up because he listened to Dan, and you have to think about how you want to kind of what you want your training to be like. 40, 50, 90 years from now. Okay, but I think that deserves some clarification, because just to think about how you want to be working out or exercising 50 or 70 years from now doesn't mean you have to be doing right now the thing you plan to do when you're 70 years old. It just means maybe you shouldn't do the most insane things that will absolutely disintegrate your body, so that way you can move by the time you're 70 years old. Doesn't mean you have to train like a 70-year-old right now, right? You can still train intensely and in shorter phases right now, but you do so in an intelligent way with your eyes toward the future, towards longevity. So there's this sort of middle ground here I think is being missed. It's this idea of, not doing the most asinine things that you just won't have the ability to move when you're 7 years old. But it's also not, I have to do the most tame,
yes,
frankly, pathetic thing in the world, so that way I don't get a little boo-boo every day,
Well,
so help us think through this, Dan,
sure.
because I think people are sometimes missing what I understand your larger point to be.
Yeah, so I have a lot. I mean, for those you don't know, I spend a fair amount of time at the senior center here in Murray. I coach the interns who coach the seniors, and then I spend a lot of time just because I'm one of the things I'm trying to do on that is I'm trying to get mentors for my next phase of life. My friend Merrill's 91 now. He just went on a 2 or 3 week trip to Galapagos, walking all over the island. That's what I want to look like when I'm 91. The guy who goes to Galapagos and walks all day. You follow what I'm trying to get across here.
Yeah.
And also too, I'm trying to give back. And the senior community seems to listen a lot better to me. It's funny how teenage throwers and 20-year-old throwers listen to me, and 70-year-olds listen to me. And the middle part, I got to work on. I got to. But yeah, I don't know who this is, but hats off to the person. So what you need to do, and the fact that it's my assignment for this upcoming next week in my inner circle, what do you want to be like 2 decades from now? And so for me, 2 decades, that's 87, which is a number no one I think in my family history has ever made.
You're going to do it, Dan. Awesome. You're going to do it.
Because my brother Rich is the oldest person in my DNA ever. And he's 12 years older than me. So do the math, And I'll see him, by the way, this weekend. I'll see my brothers, Gary's and Rich for sure, which makes me happy. So when I look ahead 20 years from now, I try to come up with certain things, mentally, but none of them, you got to remember this, folks. People, it's a cliche, but people overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can do in a year. We know that.
Or certainly 10 years as well, right?
Mm-hmm. If you would have sat me down at age 14 and said, little Danny, how do you see yourself at 67? And he would have probably said, you'll still be cleaning, pressing, and snatching. Well, to me, that's kind of what I would like to say. I would like to be doing those big movements in 20 years. I would still like to be, doing my daily ruck, my daily walk. I would still like to be dangerous, going up on roofs and things like that. And so I like this person, what this person is saying. There is a difference, though. For me to be able to do chair yoga at 87 doesn't mean I need to do chair yoga at 6. Chair yoga is fine. I didn't say anything negative. But, at the senior center, we have chair yoga. And, and they'll do, and by the way, it's very similar. It's Tim Anderson. Tim Anderson came at chair yoga a different way, and I've added that into the, don't worry about what I'm saying. So what you need to do is you need to set up these little this guardrail, this bumpers, what you want to be like in 20 years, or 30 or 40 or 50. Maybe you don't want to be dead. Okay, so not dead. So wear your seatbelt, don't smoke. Go to your doctor. If something kind of starts growing on your skin, get that looked at. Okay, folks. But at the other side, you're probably not going to be the Olympic marathon champ or decathlon champ. Okay. Mm-hmm. Those are probably two in your late 80s, early 90s. You probably won't be the Olympic champion in the decathlon. Okay. So you kind of get this little range into your head. And then what you try to do is you try to find this little area that is reasonable for you to look at and say, okay, maybe I won't be clean and jerking 300 at age 87 because no one ever has, but I will certainly be I'll be with the barbell. I'll be doing my kettlebells. I'll be doing resistance training. I'll be going for walks. I will. I've already, in the last year, I've learned 2 different new dance styles that, sounds weird.
Lovely. Yeah, no, it's great.
I don't have a musical, bone in my body, but, I still, my tin flute,
I love it.
So how many murder mysteries will I read in the next 20 years? How many great movies I'm going to see? So what you do is you kind of pack your vision for the opportunities that are coming up in the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years for you.
Yes.
The fact that we have Dick Tracy smartphones in our hands, which my dad only dreamed about, everything Jules Verne and Dick Tracy and all those, right outside of taking a pill from the Jetsons that, gives you a meal.
Jetsons, yeah.
We are, we're in a pretty good, there's amazing things showing up in the next one. And by the way, we don't even try to guess because you won't. Okay.
You won't be able to do it.
So there's gonna be amazing movies. So what you do is you kind of get yourself in this idea of prepare yourself for the amazement and do the things you need to do to be amazed.
Yeah.
So if you want to go see a lot of movies, go see your eye doctor once a year.
There you go. That's good. That's good advice.
That's how if you guys, I know that.
But it doesn't mean you have to do something right now when you're, 27 that you plan to be doing when you're 90. That's not what that means.
No.
By the way, real quick, just clarify. I like this Jujimufu guy, to be clear. I think he's been transparent about, the fact that he does drugs, which I don't recommend. I definitely think you should not do that. And I think he's, paying the price for it in various ways with his body right now. But he's at least not like that Liver King fool, right? Who's just duping people into, eating testicles of various animals under the impression that you're going to be super primal and stuff. So,
and the thing is, I get pushback sometimes on my anti-drugs. I usually delete the comments, but one of the things I just always want to say to these, like on my my YouTube channel, I'll get, someone to write down, here's the answer, testosterone, and it'll be like 7 or 8 different, drugs.
concoctions. Yeah.
And I just have to delete it because I don't want. But I also want to call up the person and say, you know what? Take all those drugs, and when you start to die at an early age, don't be a bitch about it. Sorry, gentle.
Take it like a man.
Die, and be honest with it. I don't want to hear that you found Jesus and now you regret all that. Die. Just I don't want you to go on national TV and say, "Jeepers, kids, drugs are bad." Yes, I played in the National Football League for 16 years, and I was on the cover of this Muscle magazine, and I was this and that, and I had all these beautiful women just throwing themselves at me. But kids, drugs are bad. Shut up. Die. That great scene in Last Starfighter. It's, by the way, if you haven't seen Last Starfighter, people,
I actually have seen it just recently for the first time. Loved it. Yeah, loved it. Yeah, what a hidden gem. What a hidden gem.
Pushes his visor up and goes, "Then we die." Yeah, that's what I want. I just don't want to hear your get off the pulpit towards the end of your life. Just stop it. And folks, I deal with this all the time with former friends, and I get these emails. I had this one guy, and I've told you this story before, and he said, he beat me in this contest when we were in college, and I said, well, why don't you call the organization, tell them you're on drugs, and give me this thing. And he's like, because now he's found the Lord, and he's having some physical hurts, and he's trying to deal with his issues. And I'm like, yeah, just be totally candid, write a note to the NC2A and have everything flipped.
Yeah,
that puts me into the Hall of Fame, and here we go. But
yeah, let's right those wrongs. Come on. All right. Either repentance is real or it's not, right? All right, Stephen Giebel, if I'm pronouncing it right, says, what are your thoughts on using strength aerobic training or iron cardio for body comp and fat loss?
What is iron cardio? Oh, is that weight?
God, yeah. I forget the exact protocol, but I think it's just extended sets. Somebody will have to refresh me on the exact details of moderately intense. Not extended sets, sorry, just extended amount of time of doing low rep, mini complexes, I think, something like that.
Okay.
I'm probably getting it wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. Just like what we did in the 1960s when it was called circuit training. I got no issues with these because I understand how important in body of steel, iron cardio, and I
honestly, but we have to be, shoot straight with this stuff, Dan. If you want body recomp, you need to do hypertrophy training. Just good old classic, the stuff that gets your muscles to grow. Not just the low up strength is fine, but if you really want the rapid recomp, you really should be doing the hypertrophy type of stuff, right? I mean, and then of course the diet, like that is going to give you. So like, will these other approaches work? Will this iron cardio or traditional strength? They'll work, but it's, do you want to dig the hole with the spoon or the shovel type of deal, right?
For me, I think I know that circuit training works really well for the high school group, collegiate body compers. There's real value to it, but the best thing to do is in that zone from about 17 to 34 years of age. The best thing to do is don't put on bad fat. Don't do the pizzas, don't do the beer as best you can. Stay as lean as you can in those early years, and then you really don't have to chase it. I think circuit training works, obviously for all age groups, but I think it works better for people under, say, 35. But after that, you need to probably do, like easy strength for fat loss. You combine strength training, and then after, 8 weeks, hypertrophy training. After 6 to 8 weeks, strength training, hypertrophy training, and finish every one of those with a generous walk. My worry is that
generous walk. I like a generous walk.
Yeah, we're still in a situation where we're trying to. When I see I don't know, and someone said it's Brett's program, which is great. Listen, I reach out to Brett all the time. I've talked to him a few times in the last few years. I know he's doing better physically, and I'm happy for him. But I just don't know his work anymore. I just don't. It's that whole strong first dragon door thing again. I think these guys were my friends. Okay, we'll move on. But
we were all one big happy family once.
Yeah. But on the whole, I really would just make sure you always put your age on a question like that, because there are time comes where what works for a 28-year-old doesn't work as well for a 48-year-old. And the most important thing, folks, is do your best to stay as lean as you can, as long as you can in life.
Mm-hmm. I love that advice of don't get fat in the first place, and pick the right parents. Ensure that they are handsome and jacked and rich. All right, before you enter the realm of existence.
Kelly asked me an interesting question last night, and I don't know, this has nothing to do with fitness, but it was interesting because I've got a grandchild, Winnie, on the way, and I said, it's funny. I go, finally, I'm in a place in my life where I have the time and the finances to have a baby, and she goes, "You want more kids?" Here's the response I went, wow. Maybe I do. And then we all kind of paused, and then we all kind of laughed out loud. But it was an interesting, when you said that about genetics, it was like, yeah, I would be,
well, that's great. That's great, Dan. We can talk about changing diapers and diaper blowouts and all the fun stuff that I'm so good with right now.
Yeah. And then I think, so gentle listeners, Pat has to leave today because he has a sick kid. But it was interesting because when you don't have a baby for a long time, you start to miss you miss all the little.
Yeah.
You miss.
Yeah, I was thinking that the other day. I told Christine, my wife, too, is like, man, our house is just constant chaos, and I love it. And I really do take the time to stop and just appreciate it. I mean, there's just constant noise, right? Like babies bouncing her butt on the piano, other kids are wrestling all over the floor. It's just constant. It's constant, right? And it drives you nuts every once in a while, but I think I do a pretty good job of pausing and just appreciating the chaos, because I know when that, there's going to be a day when me and Christine look at each other and it's quiet. We're going to be like, we missed that, we missed that. So doing the best we can to enjoy the chaos that we are very blessed to have right now. It is chaos for sure, right?
I always told my seniors, especially in football, early in the season, I'd say, okay, everyone fold their arms, look around, look at each other. All right, good. you're going to think about this and miss this the rest of your life. Today, all you're thinking about is getting out of practice so you can go, whatever. And, but when you're 45, you'll be sitting around drinking beer with all these guys wishing you back here right now.
Yeah, that's a great coaching moment. Have them just pause and appreciate
in my
it.
journal in April, I wrote down, I think this is April 1979. I wrote something in my journal along the lines of, I need to make sure I appreciate each and every moment of this because this too shall pass.
Man,
I didn't realize that I had 6, 7, 8 more weeks of it. And Coach Mom's no longer here. Mom and Dad, lots of my teammates are no longer here. And it's funny, you just anywhere you look at my house, there's a can you see that? There's a Utah State thing, sitting there staring at you.
It relates to something we talked about before of the importance of trying to learn is better. I mean, some things you can only learn through your own hard experience, but other things you can really learn and should try to learn from the experience of others. I mean, Dan, throughout the years, I've taken your advice so seriously because you have been down that road before me of things that you have cautioned me about, told me to be aware of and look out for. So that way I might have a great longevity and success in training. Like if I can learn from the hard experience of others, I would prefer to not have to learn it for myself. And same thing with parenting. How many people will tell you, and it's true, hey, take the time to just sit and savor this stuff because you are going to wake up one day and it's going to be gone. And I have taken that as seriously as I can, and it's still true, right? It's still true. I look back, oh my gosh, they're already so old. Like, where did those 10 years already go? My gosh. But
that was fast.
Yeah. All right, let's take one more because as Dan said, we do have some sickness floating around again, as always.
Do you want me to stay just answer the rest?
No, it's all right. It's all right. We'll just hit one or two more here and then call it a day. All right, Gary says, I'm currently 223 pounds and I want to get down to 200. I started intermittent fasting, 16-8 protocol. Any tips on getting over the initial hunger habit bump and then incorporating around my regular training? All right, so Dan, somebody wants to start the fasting of some sort. What sort of initial tips do you have for the beginner?
Well, Gary, and good luck on this because it's not as hard as people think. But if there's two things I'd recommend, and they're pretty simple, but try to pick a number like I'm going to eat dinner at 5. I know that's early, and I know that might not work for you. But if you eat dinner a little bit earlier, so don't eat after dinner. Okay, I'm now your mom. No snacks after dinner. All right. So that's a big one. That's a real easy way. So if you can make that dinner earlier, and I know people they're called my daughters, make fun of the fact that I like to eat dinner earlier and earlier. But what they're not understanding is I'm trying to increase my window of fasting. About a week or two, I invited my daughters out to dinner, my daughter at the dinner. It was like, we'll meet at 4. She said, 4? And I'm like, and then I had to realize that, she thought I was doing it for the early bird special. I was doing it so that I'd be done dinner by 5.
Yeah.
Have a 7-hour fasting window before midnight, and then have a 7-hour, 8-hour fasting, 9-hour fasting window, 10-hour. So 7's easy way to get it in. So that to me is that's the easiest way I know.
That's a little hack right there.
Just eat dinner earlier. So that means you have to prep dinner earlier and you have to shop for dinner, all those things. The next thing is copious amounts of coffee or hot beverages when you wake up. Now, listen, if you're not a coffee drinker, God bless you. We can't all be perfect, but
maybe try some tea. But you're right. I mean, like the hot liquids make a big difference. Caffeine, I'm a fan. I don't have that much, but it is an effective appetite suppressant. It is. We know this. And
we're looking at, when I work with those special organizations, we really try to get them to start drinking just 2 cups of coffee, because that you get most of the benefits. However, and if there's, you need something else, obviously, but if you can, the coffee, but once you probably get past 16 hours on intermittent fasting, so I just got you up to easily. I mean, if you go from, it's once you get past 16 hours of fasting, there's marvelous benefits. But from what I understand, from what I read, and that's all I can tell you, is that the benefits start to do this after 16 hours. So yes, there is great benefit in a yearly, like 5-day fast, and the fast mimicking diet, and all those longer fasts, no question. But if you're going to do the daily, after about 16 hours, you really don't get any more benefits.
Yeah. Let me finish with just three tips that I think might be helpful for anybody starting fasting. The first would be to consider starting out with a weekly fasting cycle. You don't have to fast every single day. I think this is something that people don't realize, right? So you could just start with, hey, 2 days per week. This is the known as the 5-2 diet.
Yeah.
But it's nothing particularly novel about the idea. It's just, hey, I'm gonna, be a little bit more pushy or aggressive or intense 2 days per week, and then I'll just sort of eat normally the rest of the week. So, starting out with a reasonable challenge where you don't have to do a fast every single day is a good way to kind of just enter into that intermittent fasting. I hate to say lifestyle, but whatever it is. All right. Number two is when you're coming off your fast, consider having like a big bowl of something green or a protein shake, just to kind of blunt the hunger before you go into your meal. This will help you to not like overcompensate, because one of the issues you find with fasting is the reason it works is it helps to control calories, but if you go into that like eating window an absolute hog, yeah, and you just destroy every single food item you can see, especially not the best ones, you kind of missed your opportunity there, friend. But if you just have a protein shake ready or a big bowl of like steamed broccoli and garlic, and you just have that, 30 minutes before you have your main meal or dinner, it's going to do a lot to kind of bring those the hunger and the hunger down and help you eat a more sensible and restrained meal. And then the third tip, of course, is timing your eating window, which Dan already said. The dinner to dinner, I find, is the easiest approach.
Yeah.
And then scooting dinner a little bit earlier is just one of those little tweaks that I think makes things a lot more effective and sustainable. So those would be my 3 big tips for all you fasting enthusiasts out there.
Mm-hmm. Well, Nassim Taleb does it even simpler. He has that Greek Orthodox calendar, and whatever it says to do that day, he does.
Just do that. Yeah, follow the liturgical calendar. Why not?
The liturgical calendar, and he, in the Greek Orthodox Church has 4 additional, fasts, and they have specific fasts on specific days, and there's great value in following that. When I was young, we always ate fish on Friday, and it's interesting because I'm not a full-blown pescatarian. It's interesting. My granddaughter is. She's
very nice.
And because my son-in-law's family is pescatarian, that means you eat fish as your. And one of the things I've adopted, I think I mentioned this in a podcast, but I've gotten away from fish oil capsules because I'm trying to eat more fish.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I'm trying to get the benefits, and I try to eat real low in the food chain. So sardines and sardines, the herrings, the anchovies, the lower.
Yeah. Real good for you. Real good for you.
And so sometimes just something as simple as following a religious tradition can do marvels for you.
Box in with the community too, naturally cyclical and all that, right?
I was in the Middle East. It's Ramadan now, but I was in the Middle East in July when I was there, June, July, during Ramadan, and I just moved I moved into the Ramadan eating schedule because it was just so much easier. When you got 26 million people eating a certain way, it's easier to follow along. And that's when you fast from sun up to sundown. Is when you fast, and I think any system that you have has value. One of the things Ori Hofmecker mentions in his book is the health benefits of Ramadan, the health benefits of the Greek Orthodox, the health benefits of Lent, the health benefits of those kind of things.
Yeah, great. All right, like we said, I have to wrap it up a little early today, but before we go, Dan, announcements, updates, how's the book coming along, all that good stuff?
Well, I don't know how the book's. I mean, it's off. We'll see how it's.
Okay, so it's out of your hands. It's to the editor and all that good stuff. Great.
So thank you, Brian. And then I got a wedding this weekend out in California.
That's right. Yeah.
Sadly, I might have a funeral of one of my favorite cousins very soon. Hats off. He was Bill Spillane, just a great man. He's struggling, and I wish him my best. But things are good. My throwers are making me very happy. We had a plethora of personal records this weekend.
Awesome.
And of course, right after that happened, the weather went to Utah weather. So, and I do want everyone, if you get a chance, look up what happened with the University of Utah women's basketball team over the weekend. It's a tragic story, and that's modern America. We had a racist incident with our beloved Ute team, and it's sad. It's a very sad story, but things are very good, Patrick. I'm training well. I'm almost done with my journal, folks. I mean, look at that. You know, I mean, hard to believe it's time to actually invest in a new one in a few days.
Great.
So that adds to that pile of journals that sits there, and they'll get tossed out when I die. So
great. Awesome. Well, thank you, Dan. Thank you, everybody, for the great conversation. If you like what we're doing, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment after the show. We'll see you guys next week.